Every time the world seems to be on fire, when chaos reigns and headlines scream disaster, have you ever stopped to wonder if someone, somewhere, is getting richer? It's a dark question, but a necessary one. Because behind every global crisis, wars, pandemics, financial crashes, there's a hidden story of immense profit. The question isn't just asterisk if asterisk someone benefits, but who they are. And more importantly, asterisk how asterisk they do it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden winners of global disasters. This isn't about conspiracy theories. It is about following the money and understanding the predictable patterns that emerge every time the world is thrown into chaos. We'll expose the playbook used by a select few to turn widespread suffering into personal fortune. And trust me, once you see the pattern, you'll never look at a major news event the same way again. Let us start with a fundamental principle that the ultra-wealthy understand better than anyone else. Crisis creates opportunity. When panic spreads, the average person sells. They pull their money out of the stock market, they liquidate assets, they run for cover. But the insiders, the well-connected, they do the exact opposite. They buy when there's blood in the streets. They see bargains. Think back to the 2008 financial crisis. Global markets were in free fall. People lost their homes, their jobs, their life savings. It was a picture of utter devastation for millions. But what happened behind the scenes? While the public bore the brunt of the collapse, the very institutions that caused the crisis too big to fail, banks were handed massive taxpayer-funded bailouts. They were saved, and in the years that followed, they didn't just recover, they thrived, bigger and more profitable than ever before. The assets that ordinary people were forced to sell for pennies on the dollar were scooped up by those with the capital and the nerve to wait out the storm. Fast forward to the recent global pandemic, the world shut down. Small businesses were decimated and millions faced economic hardship. Yet, for a specific set of industries, it was a gold rush. Tech companies, whose platforms became our entire world, saw their valuations skyrocket. Pharmaceutical giants who developed the vaccines and treatments reported record-breaking profits. E-commerce and logistics companies became the new lifelines of a lockdown society, and their founders saw their net worth multiply at a rate we've never seen in human history. The pattern is clear. A widespread crisis creates a specific, concentrated demand, and those positioned to meet it don't just win, they dominate. While we were learning to bake sourdough bread, a massive transfer of wealth was happening right under our noses. Now, let's talk about the most timeless and profitable business of all, war. For centuries, conflict has been a devastating force for humanity, but a powerful engine for industry. When nations go to war, entire economies are the most obvious winners, of course, are the defense contractors. Companies that manufacture fighter jets, missiles, tanks, and ammunition see their order books swell. Their stock prices often climb at the mere whisper of international tension. It's a grim reality that their business model thrives on instability and conflict, but it doesn't stop there. War disrupts global supply chains, especially for energy. This creates massive volatility in oil and gas prices. Energy companies with the right infrastructure and market position can reap enormous windfall profits from this chaos. Suddenly, the price at the pump skyrockets for you and me. But for them, it's a bonus. Then there are the private security firms, the modern-day mercenaries, who are hired to protect assets, train forces, and operate in conflict zones where national armies might not want to officially tread. Their contracts are worth billions, and after the destruction, what comes next? Reconstruction. The very same cities that were destroyed by bombs need to be rebuilt. And who gets the lucrative contracts to rebuild the roads, the bridges, the power grids? Often it's multinational construction and engineering firms, many of them based in the very countries that were involved in the conflict. It's a perfect cyclical business model. First, you profit from the destruction, and then you profit from the rebuilding. It's a brutal but undeniable economic reality of the war economy. Beyond the tangible industries like weapons and oil, there's another more shadowy group of winners, the financial elites. These are the hedge funds, the big investment banks, and the billionaire investors who operate in a world of high-stakes financial instruments that most of us have never even heard of. They don't need to build anything or sell a physical product to profit from disaster. They simply bet on it. One of their most powerful tools is called short selling. Essentially, it's a bet that a company's stock, an entire market, or even a country's currency will fail. When a crisis hits and markets crash, these short sellers can make a fortune. They aren't creating value. They are profiting from its destruction. It's a perfectly legal, yet morally questionable way to get rich from others' misfortunes. They also use sophisticated strategies to hedge against inflation and instability. When governments print money to stimulate economies during a crisis, it devalues the currency. The wealthy know this. So they move their money out of cash and into hard assets, things like gold, real estate, and even fine art, things that hold their value while the savings of ordinary people are eroded by inflation. Global instability becomes a signal for them to shuffle their immense wealth around the world, always one step ahead, protecting their capital while the rest of the world scrambles to stay afloat. They play a different game with different rules, turning global chaos into a sophisticated and highly profitable chessboard. So, what's the real lesson in all of this? It's that these crises, these moments of global panic and upheaval, are rarely just random, unfortunate events. They are moments of profound change, where the tectonic plates of power and wealth shift dramatically. And these shifts are not accidental. They are often accelerated, manipulated, and exploited by those with the knowledge, the capital, and the influence to do so. The pattern of profit we've discussed today, buying cheap during a crash, supplying the tools of war, betting on failure, it's a playbook that has been used time and time again. The purpose of understanding this isn't to make us feel cynical or helpless. It's to make us smarter. It's to empower us to look past the sensational headlines and ask the right questions. We need to be critical observers of the world around us, because when we understand the mechanisms by which wealth and power are consolidated during a crisis, we can begin to challenge them. We can demand more transparency, fairer systems, and greater accountability from our leaders and financial institutions. So the next time you see the world seemingly falling apart, the next time the news is filled with fear and uncertainty, Tikia moment, step back from the initial panic and ask yourself a simple question. Who stands to gain from this? Because in every disaster, someone is cashing in. And knowing who it is the first step toward building a world where crisis doesn't just benefit the few, but instead brings us together to help the many. Thank you so much for watching. If this video opened your eyes, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to see it. Do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't want to miss our next deep dive. Stay curious and stay critical.